Mom, we're taking a picture with us.
We are. We're doing a video.
Hi, I wrote Almond and that ponies.
You're so silly. All right, welcome to Quilt Addicts Anonymous. I'm Stephanie Soebbing, and I've got a special guest with me. We have the Future Quilter, and then who else is this? Who else do we have?
Ponies.
Ponies?
Yeah.
And why do we have ponies today?
That we have ponies today. We had a lot of flange.
We have ponies because we're making a unicorn pillowcase. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah.
So we're doing a series occasionally about sewing with kids. So today I'm going to show you how to make a pillowcase with enclosed seams and sewing with your little one. So this is great if you want. This is great if you want to sew with your kids or your grandkids. As usual, these videos are occasionally a hot mess, as you can see here, but it's fun, and that's the point. We want them to have fun sewing, so we create new little quilters. Okay, so let's get started. What we need, you're going to need some basic sewing supplies. You'll need a sewing machine. You're silly. Let's tell them what they need. You need a sewing machine, an iron, a pressing surface, some pins, thread, a rotary cutter, a long ruler, 6x24 is good, a cutting mat, and then you need some fabric. So from your focus fabric to do 2 pillows, you need 1.5 yards, and then you need, from whatever you want your sleeve to be, I'm using this purple, a 1/2 yard, and then you need 1/4 yard of whatever you want your flange to be. Now, since we're sewing with kids, and clearly our attention spans are small, I did a couple of things ahead of time to make this easier and faster, and then also to eliminate all the as much iron and cutting as needed to happen. So what I've already done is I've cut my focus fabric down to 27 inches by width of fabric. That's 3/4 yard. I have cut my sleeve fabric to 9 inches by width of fabric. That's 1/4 yard. And I've cut my little flange here down to... You're silly. We are making a unicorn pillow. I cut my flange here down to 2.5 inches, and I folded it over long ways together, hot dog style, and pressed it together. Here, let's show them what Mommy did so far.
Okay.
See? You can see it's already been folded over and pressed.
Mommy,
and I have 2 of each of those because we're going to make a pair of pillowcases.
Here it is.
Is that pretty?
Yeah.
It is pretty.
On my head.
It is on your head, but we're gonna put it in a pillow. All right, so I've kind of laid out our fabric here, and my table is not quite large enough to do what I'm trying to do here, but I'm gonna give you guys a visual here. So what we wanna do is lay it out in the direction it's going to be. What I mean here is every single one of these is directional.
Okay. Wait, pony!
Are you ready to do this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's show them what's going on. So all the ponies, are they facing up, Andrew, or are they facing down?
Facing up.
Yep, and all the hearts, are they going up or are they going down?
Down.
No, they're going up. See, they're all going up. So what I've done is I've laid this out in the way it's gonna look when it's finished. So that way we know how to put everything together. So I've got my sleeve with my hearts going up. I have my flange with the fold down, and the hearts are going up, and the ponies are going up. So now we're gonna roll this all together, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, so I'm gonna take this. We know that this is going right. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip that over. I'm flipping this over so that the right sides are together. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. I'm gonna flip it up so that the right sides are together. Did it hurt? I'm sorry. So normally I would roll it up and do a big kind of hot dog at this point. And we are going to do that. But first I'm gonna sew this and baste it all together. That way we don't have to worry about losing some raw edges when we make our big hot dog. So I'll show you how that goes.
A big hot dog?
Yeah, we're making a fabric hot dog.
No, not a fabric hot dog.
All right, so what I'm doing here, I'm actually gonna flip this all around so it's easier
Mommy, I
for me to hold on to.
hot dogs, but hot dogs are not my favorite.
What are your favorite?
But no. unicorns.
Well, that good deal, we're making unicorns. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of lining everything up as I go, making sure all those raw edges are together. And about every 6 inches or so, putting a pin in. This is an adult task unless you are working with an older child. So what I've done is I moved my needle all the way to the right. So I'm going to sew about 1/8 of an inch stitch here. I also can increase my stitch length because this is just to kind of hold everything together. And if you're having a kid run the machine and your machine has the ability to slow down the stitches, that's a good idea. That way you can be going at a medium speed and we don't have to worry about any fingers getting in the way.
I don't want your phone to get hurt.
I will not get hurt. Mommy knows what she's doing. You are supposed to keep your fingers out of the way of the sewing needle though. You're doing good. Okay, so I have basted these together, and if I flip this open, everything should look the way it's gonna look when the pillow is together. So everything should be going up. Yeah, so what way are the unicorns facing? Where are the unicorns going, up or down?
Up.
And are the hearts going up or down?
Down.
No, they're going up. See? The top of the heart is at the top. So if everything looks like it's going in the right direction, then you're going to be good. So now we're going to make the hot dog. You ready to make a fabric hot dog?
No.
No?
The fabric hot dog is not my favorite.
It's not your favorite. It only is just for a little bit of time, and then it becomes a unicorn pillow. Does that sound fun?
Not a hot dog pillow.
Yeah, not a hot dog pillow, a unicorn pillow. But we got to make a fabric hot dog first. Here's how you do it. So I've laid everything out so that the part that was facing up is now facing down. So the sleeve should be against your table and surface that you're working with.
On a day, and it's singing about the mortar.
What are you singing? So now I folded everything up so that way it's about 1 inch or so away from the edge, because we do not want to sew this to the edge. We just want to get it enclosed so that way we can create our fabric hot dog. All right, so I folded it in half again. And now we can see the sleeve, and so it maybe is making a little bit more sense at this point to you. So now I've got it all folded up, and I can take the rest of the sleeve, and now I can match it with these raw edges that we already basted down. So now, just like before, I'm gonna pin all this together, but this time we're gonna sew it with a real 1/4 inch seam with our standard stitch length, which is like 2.5 is good. Okay, you ready? Mommy's gonna pin this. All right, and then maybe, do you wanna help me sew this time? Okay, that'd be great.
What about you read my pony set up with the butterfly? It's a butterfly making for my pony.
That's awesome. Did you make that? Oh, good job, honey.
I'm a mommy.
You're a mommy to the ponies? Good deal. So for this part, I'm gonna start by sewing a few stitches forward, and then I'm gonna sew a few stitches back. That reinforces it so that when we pull this fabric tube out, the stitching doesn't come apart. You're gonna wanna do that at both ends. All right, this is the fun part, Angela. We're gonna take the fabric hot dog out. You wanna help me?
The fabric hot dog is yucky.
It's not yucky, I promise. Okay, so this is the fabric hot dog. And what we do is you reach in there and you grab the fabric and you start pulling. Can you pull on the light purple part?
Yeah.
Help me.
The hot dog pillow.
No, it's a unicorn, but we make a fabric hot dog first. So now it should look the way it did before. The only difference is that now this is all encased, so you have no raw edges whatsoever. This is a really great way to make a pillowcase without a serger. So now we have some pressing to do. So this is an adult only task unless you have older kids who can be trusted with the iron. So this is a lot easier on an actual ironing board, but the sewing room's small, so we're using a little surface. What you want to do is kind of pull on the edge of that sleeve, and then with your iron on the pink part or your flange, you'll kind of be able to press that nice and flat. The goal here is that if you flip it over, that there aren't any pleats or anything here. If there are, it's not the end of the world, but you want to try and avoid it if you can. So go ahead and do that all the way down the width of your pillow. Angela needed a little break, and this part involves a very sharp rotary cutter, so I'm gonna handle this myself while she takes a little break. 4-year-olds need that occasionally. So what I've done is I've laid it out right sides together, and I've got my top edges nice and even, and I also have where this fold is gonna come together nice and even. Now what I wanna do is cut off those selvages. So I'm lining up just any inch line of the ruler with the top of that pillow so that it will stay nice and square as I cut down. And then I'm in just, you know, maybe 1/4 of an inch from the edge of where this white part is. That's called the selvage of the fabric. Sometimes they have cool stuff. This one has unicorns on it, so I might save it for a project, but it definitely is not something you want to include in your pillow. So we need to cut that off and even up our edges. So I pulled that down a little bit. I'm making sure that my ruler is in line with the area that I just cut. If it's not perfectly square or straight, it's not really the end of the world, and I'm totally gonna save this because look at all those fun unicorns in the selvage. All right, now grasping those sides to keep them nice and even, I'm flipping it so that my bottom edge is now to the right, so I can trim that. And now I'm putting, again, any inch line on the ruler, even with the edge that I just trimmed. And I'm just gonna trim off just a little bit, just make it nice and square, basically. Now this next part, we're gonna sew what's called a front seam. It sounds a lot fancier than it actually is. It just means that all our seams will be enclosed like when we sewed that hot dog seam just a couple seconds ago. So what I'm gonna do is with the wrong sides together, I know this sounds weird if you have ever sewn before, you wanna have your wrong sides together, and I'm gonna pin along all the sides that I just sewed. I just kind of wanna keep this even. So I kind of start from the cut edge and work my way back. And then over here, you want to make sure that your sleeve edges are nice and even when you're working with them. So starting with the sleeve end of my pillowcase, I'm gonna sew a 1/4 inch seam around the 2 raw edges. And I'm also gonna reinforce those stitches. So I'm gonna sew a few stitches forward to start, and then back a few stitches. And that secures it so that it won't come apart as it's used and washed. When I get to that corner, I usually sew all the way to the end, and then I lift my presser foot up and I start all the way with the edge. I don't reinforce this seam, but I do like to sew all the way to the end. I feel like it's a little bit more secure that way. All right, so what we want to do is we want to trim this down to about 1/8 of an inch seam. So really, I just want to cut off just a little sliver of fabric on the outside. That way when we flip this around to finish the French seam, we don't have any raw edges that are poking through. Now I know this looks weird to have the seam on the outside, but it's about to make a whole lot more sense. What you want to do is turn the pillow inside out and make sure to poke out that bottom corner so that it's nice and pointy. Really both bottom corners so they're nice and pointy. We're gonna give this a quick press to get it nice and crisp, and then we're gonna sew a 3/8 inch seam around the entire body of the pillow, well, the seam side anyway, and then we'll be ready to actually use this bad boy. It's not really a bad boy, it's a unicorn. They're sweet and cuddly and cotton candy and all the goodness. So I'm gonna press this, and then I'm gonna go get the Future Quilter back in here to finish this up. All right, so what I do is I take my little fingernails and I kind of press to get that seam as close to the edge as possible. You want it to be pretty nice sharp point there. And if you want to use seam in your iron at this point or some spray starch, feel free. It definitely helps to make a nice, really crisp edge to work with. All right, so I have set my sewing machine so that it's going to sew a 3/8 inch seam, and I have everything pressed, and I'm just going to stitch around the side that is stitched one more time. Are you silly? All right, it's really important that you reinforce your stitches this time because this is the final seam. And we're going slow again because we got the little Future Quilter back. You want to help me?
Yeah, like fun.
Are you ready to have your unicorn pillow? You gonna sleep on it tonight? Yeah. All right, so when I'm about 3/8 of an inch away, I'm gonna stop with my needle down and turn. And that way that seam is just kind of making a right angle at the side there. I'm not going all the way to the edge in this one, of that corner anyway. All right, are you ready for the big reveal, Angela? All right, we just gotta turn this inside out. You ready? You wanna help me? Come on, put your arm in. Put your arm inside. Ready? Pull it out. Oh my gosh, look at your pillowcase. Isn't that cool?
And not filled up yet.
No, it's not filled up yet. We didn't put the pillow in yet. Should your pony sleep on the pillow? Yeah. Do you like it?
All my emotes going to be under there.
They're gonna sleep under there or on top because it's a pillow. We could put them all on there if you want.
I want to put them this side, this side, this side.
And what colors are these?
Purple and pink.
And are those your favorite? Awesome. Did you have fun making this pillowcase with Mommy?
Yeah. Then we didn't put a big pillow in.
Yeah, we're gonna put a big pillow in and then you can go night-night with this tonight. Sound good?
You gonna finish doing it?
It's done. It's all done. You did the pillowcase. Look, you made this. And you made a pillowcase with Mommy.
Yeah, I did.
You did.